This is all a starting point of the organization itself having the buying in on the ESG initiative, right? This is what I meant. The organization has to set up perhaps the guideline, the awareness, inside the organization, and start to comply with those things. Okay, social part actually very interesting because anything that you serve to the public is actually reflecting to the community. When talking about the community, is actually people. That the external part. The internal part, your own people to deliver those things, right? So that's a both thing that we have to look at it. In terms of external, perhaps it can create job creation, right? It can increase the living standard living of the people, and also it must be ethical. You have something is good for the environment, but it might not ethical to the community. So we have to look into that. So that's how it's come all the, I would say, the top management of organization. It start from that, and you need that drilling down to the operational level, the working levels, so that they will the so-called the implementer of those initiative from the organization, right? So you go into that, and that's how the industry should can conceive and also implement ESG strategies. They must come up with certain strategies on each individual company or organization or industry per se. So they have set it out. I'm interested to something, the services that can benefit for all, especially the people, because the social is part actually is more on the masses effect of all, right? So the business part, of course, they need the so-called the profit and things like that. But having that profit, not giving the benefit to the social is something not uh, anybody look at it. People have to look into that three elements so that at the same time you get the profit, but also you benefit the community, you benefit the environment, and also you, I would say, to hold the principle of the governance part of it. Okay. Yeah, this is the very hardest decision has to be made. Definitely, in any company, they're looking into bottom line, right? That's why I said it comes into the ethical part of it. You can have a higher profit, but actually diminishing all the other factors, which is not reflecting as a, I would say, a good leader in any in any planet, right? So become like the bad leveling, I would say, towards that. So they must have an I don't know, ethical conscious, yeah, to do that. Otherwise, it just, for example, if you sell drug, for example, you get high return, isn't it? But you affect badly on the social and of course the governance part of it. So actually collapsing all those elements. Of course the environment as well. So the businesses has to be really legit in that sense. And then you can actually talk about ESG. If your business is not legit, how you want to talk about ESG, right? So I would say it's come into the person who run the business or the organization to really put it. And of course there must be what do you say, enforcement for any countries, I believe. There must be an enforcement toward that. Then everybody will start to comply. Maybe by giving some incentive, giving some recognition towards that, and maybe also some of the criteria to get more business when you comply with those things, right? Because the enforcement is already there, and talking about maybe government procurement and things like this, etc. If you want to get this particular job, you must fulfill the ESG element. As simple as that. So maybe I can pick one that is really clearly or easily to explain in terms of paddy waste, right? Paddy rice waste just now. They have been burning those waste for the past 15 to 20 years. So that means producing a lot of carbon, greenhouses effect for 20 years.
Gain better demand when it's not
Fraction.
exclusive, and what gains better
Okay.
demand when it's exclusive.
This actually go into the basic principle. Not all IP can be commercialized. Not all IP can be commercialized. But having IP is a bonus for you to commercialize, because you have some basis for you to nego, isn't it? I mean, you have the value of IP, we get to nego. The reason I said that, IP is starting from the fundamental, this one. Yeah, the red part. Yes, right. So when you talk about this one, is either you work or you do the research based on market needs or based on expertise. I mean, based on the people. So this is very critical. If you do the research based on market needs, that's where answering your question. You see, sometimes you have the good technology, but there's nobody want to take up because it's so risky. It's new, isn't it? A lot of, the risk of it is very high. Sometimes they don't take up. See? But when you know there's a market need on here, then it's easy for you to do the research that the market is waiting. This is what I want. So definitely, market is the first one to look at now. Market needs. Definitely. Because that's why we put market validation at the end of the day. Because that's where the sampling is all about. When you introduce a few hundred of unit of your product meaning the consumer, the buyer's product, because it depends on perspective. If you are doing something, it's on your perspective, that is your product. But the customer is a customer product, whether they wanted to buy it or not. Right? If you introduce a few hundred unit and suddenly sold within 1 month, it's a good indication that this product is good and the market is actually waiting. But you put 100 sample, 6 months or so, not there's no buyers, and then you know already, it's either you go back into tweaking the technology or the product, whatever it is. That's where the decision is very important here. The investor is always asking this: is there any market want to buy or not? Because the investor, being investor, is investor. They have money, but they want quick return. So it's actually addressing your question. The experience says that market needs is very important, no matter what. Sometimes it's so simple, but it can really, it's a phenomenal in the market, isn't it? So it's all market need. Now it's a millennial. People is very young, very active. Their appetite is different. Because when you understand who are the customers that you want to target to, that's where the business start to roll. That's why I say, even you having good IP, you cannot sell. Or maybe it will take time for you to sell. By then you're already exhausted. So that's my comment. I would say in general, the benefit is looking into those ESG is particularly on the social part, the job creation, the standard of living of the people when you offer any kind of technology, and of course we emphasize on the governance part. Then it will be respected by all parties. It's either the customer respect us, or we also respect the customers if we have the same governance kind of understanding, right? And if the technology reflecting on the environmental part, that's where it helps the I would say the goal of helping the environment, reducing the carbon footprint. So that is part of, I believe, the benefit in general, towards that. Maybe we're talking about because this is basically reflecting the outcome of those exercises, right? So we're talking about people, we're talking about economic, we're talking about the transparency of that, and also the accountability at the end of the day. So the contributor to the outcome of those exercises. So, okay, maybe the two cases here I would like to share, perhaps because we have delivered a solution for a client somewhere in northern region, where on the organic waste management using the anaerobic digester system, as I mentioned, and the system is working well until today, and it contributes to less pollution to the environment, by way of efficient waste management and monitoring. So what does it mean is that using our advanced kind of processing or making the microbes uh, in a better way. That means the microbe is not even dead since the earlier of the delivery of the system. Important of the AD is actually the microbe.
Sorry, importance
Of the anaerobic digester just now, you need to use microbe in order to do the processing of producing the gas or biogas, if you like. Okay, so the microbe must be very healthy. If the microbe is not healthy, they will die. Okay, we want to prevent the microbe from dying. Reason, it will cost you even higher because you have to put all the thing must be very clean and there's no impurities in the enclosure lah, if you like, or in the tank.
So it will be, sorry, it costs higher.
Higher.
To ensure that the microbes are clean.
Yep. No, not the microbe clean. The system is clean for the microbe to be healthy.
Okay.
And working very hard, you know. So it's a digestion process. That means you need microbe to do that. So that is very important. So that's why it's effect on the environment part. To make sure less pollution. There's no smell and it's very clean. Imagine organic waste, yeah. So this is another example. How the customer benefit of it, right? And additionally, we also working on the Sungai Balang, to be specific, Sungai Balang Muar paddy area, addressing the paddy straw waste. As I mentioned, almost 20 years or 15, 20 years, they're carrying out of burning all this one, affect the environment.